Well, hello, Bob Dendry here, and welcome back to Transport Fever 2, The Long Game. So, last week we did a bit of work around this beautiful Peoria bypass that moved some of our heavy laden freight off the quite harsh Peoria bank, and that's pretty good. We also got in our first EP2, which is carrying freight, and yes, I am aware that EP2s did not run freight, or the bipolar EP2s did not run freight, but I figured they probably would have hauled freight if Milwaukee purchased more of them, because they are very powerful locomotives. So we are going to continue using them for freight. Before we go too much further, I want to hand over to past Bob Dendry. So we did record a little bit more last episode that didn't make it onto the vid due to just time and length constraints. So I'm going to pass on there. We're going to get building on a new part of our network, and then I'll join you in a little bit. All right, now I'm thinking what we'll do next is we'll get some more construction materials moving. Good thing about this is, yes, we can drop off along the line at Flint, but we can also just punch this through probably to Oklahoma, to be honest. And once again, start to get them flowing into the greater network. And that's what we need to be doing. What we're doing here is serving our community on these new lines, but also making sure we're pushing the additional, production into the network so that we can spread it around as well. So yeah, we're going to set up a station here or so. We're actually going to feed this into our network. We've also unlocked some high-speed tracks, if I'm not mistaken, so we will start to use those, potentially more for experimentation than anything else right now. And we have a stone mine over here. I wonder if there's any others nearby. Probably not. No, that is going to be the best placed one, which is a little bit annoying, but we can feed it probably not via the main line. We might give it its own little route just to keep things nice and separated. This one will not be electrified either. Not really any other way to connect this up. Either go all the way around or go through the mountain. And I think we're going to do it the boring and lazy way and just go straight through. We should be able to loop this around and keep at a decent speed. We can. And we will need to do a little connection here. So we can get trains running on this as well. Cool. Am I running overheads here? I'm not, so I'll need to upgrade those as well. My mistake. Right, but we've got a stone connection there. I'm going to run two of these actually, so we'll need to add in a passing loop. All right, next what we'll do, we'll set up our freight platforms at Flint. Those are like massive overheads on these high-speed tracks. That's interesting. But too much slope, so we might need to take it out a bit further. Perfect. Alrighty, we'll add them at San Francisco. There's not going to be anything serving it right now because we're only going to be running construction materials. That's okay. Got a bit of the old too much slope happening. So I might try and take that back a little bit. And it works. All right, and we're back connected to the network now. Now I'm wondering, looking here, I don't think we need to hook through Fullerton. I think it'll be okay if we avoid it, but we can always add a connection in if we want. Other than that, these are just going to shoot straight through to Oklahoma. So a bit of a longer route, honestly, but I think it should be okay. I think it should work. So once again, we're going to go with one of these Milwaukee bipolars. We've actually unlocked some new hoppers, which is unfortunate because we just purchased some. But it's okay. It'll be okay. Might need to be on the lookout for some better state cars as well, because 80 kilometers an hour probably isn't going to, you know, do it for us at this point of the game. We do have a problem with our connection here, so I might have a look in a sec and see what the potential issue is here. So we can't get from Charleston to Flint. I wonder if that's just because we're using the incorrect track. It's not. We don't have any crossovers. That's going to be part of the issue, I think. Yeah, that's going to be part of it. So that should fix part of the issue. But we still can't connect all stations. So where is the break exactly? Oh, I know what the issue is. We need to add in electrification. That's at least possibly part of the problem anyway. Yeah, that was the issue. Cool. All right. All right, cool. So we've got that little bit of build done. And next I want to work out how we're going to get some goods into the network. Obviously, we've got San Francisco and Flint that are also going to, or, you know, would like to have some goods. And obviously, we're partially handling both of these towns right now. So it makes sense to give them the rest of what they want. And we've also got Fullerton as well we could potentially feed through to, because I don't think we are really, well, we're actually really barely covering anything that Fullerton wants. So I've had a look around and I think this goods factory is going to be good. So we have, basically we need plastic. That's okay. Where I think we could get some plastic from is over here with our chemical plant. And we can potentially either set up a sort of oil refinement chain here and feed through there, or we can also grab some from over here as well at Lafayette Oil Refinery. And I'm not sure what we'll do right now. We'll probably start off using Lafayette Oil Refinery, and we might, if there's not sufficient production to handle that, we could shift over to using these two as well. So the easy connection here is going to be to the goods factory itself, and we can also start to get some refined silver coming through there as well, because that's a nice simple connection we can make right now. That's a bit of a cheat, but it worked, so it's okay. History is written by the victors, as they say. This is not what I wanted to be using. All right, so that's the first half. So we can get a train running our silver, refined silver over here, which we'll get in now. So in terms of what we're going to use for our silver train, so we have unlocked some Hudsons here. Obviously, as you can see, they're another locomotive that were predominantly passenger. There are some records of them being used for freight, but apparently they weren't particularly well suited to it. We've also got the 9000 classes. Now, these were Union Pacific locomotives, so obviously we're going for more of a East Coast feel here. I have had a request to use the big boy, and we will use them. And I'm not necessarily opposed to using the 9000s either, but I don't think we need them for our silver trains. So we will stick with Pacifics for the moment, and yeah, we'll see how we go from there. I did also have a look on the workshop to see if I could locate any flat cars or state cars that we could potentially use, and I couldn't actually find any decent US style ones in the sort of years we're currently working in. So if you have seen some yourself that you could recommend, please let me know and I will have a look at them, definitely. So we'll get a new line set up. We're just going to use the one train for this one at this point, and obviously we can upgrade it should we need to. Okay, look, I've been having a look around the map and considering how we're going with our sort of freight networks, things like that. I'm coming to the conclusion that what I did way back in, well, quite a few episodes ago probably isn't really working. The reason why I'm thinking that is we've got so many of these hub stations where we're using to have massive amounts of freight sitting here, not really doing anything. And then we've got plenty of towns like Dayton, which was our largest town, is languishing because it's not getting what it needs. Richmond is getting a reasonable amount of bread, but nothing else. El Paso, nothing. Salem, nothing really. Fullerton, nothing really either. So I think we might gradually start moving away from the sort of trip train network type thing. I still do want to use those big, large trains that are transiting these bulk goods between our sort of main hub points. But from there, I think we will see if we can get sort of individual trains running to each town rather than running engines through like 3 or 4 towns each, because that's clearly not working. Certainly, we've got a massive backlog here to start cleaning up. We've got a lot of bricks, we've got a lot of fuel, a reasonable amount of goods as well. If we pop over to Dayton, not that one or that one, we've got, it's not too bad, but we've still got some large sort of quantities. Same as Oklahoma City South. Laredo North is much the same. And LA is similar as well. Look at that, 751. That is absolutely insane. Like, I don't know how else to describe that. So what I'm going to try and do then is get a few trains, just taking one type of good or one, you know, like liquids or box cars or construction materials, because that's the only thing that goes on state cars, and see if we can start to shift some of these large amounts of goods that are just sitting here not really doing anything. So we've got a number of vehicles here. How many is that? 7 vehicles on our freight trip train network, which is massive, but it's also reasonably at capacity. There's not a lot of spare capacity, bit of fuel, but that could be just because we're sitting on a part of this network that doesn't have massive amounts waiting right now. So I'm going to manage the line, and we are actually going to add a further stop after Dayton South. I'm going to also have it pop down here to Lafayette branch as well, and then back to Dayton South, and just add that extra trip. And that should be all we really need to cover most of our network. If this is what we've got, these bulk sort of trains moving between. I don't really think we're going to have much else. All these other sort of middle lines that are running between the initial lines that we set up, they should be fine to be served from those same hubs. So I'm not really concerned there, but I do want to get quite a few new trains running, probably 4 to be honest. So we'll go ahead and start doing that. This is a good opportunity to use some class 9000s as well, because these are you know, big mainline freight trains. So we want to have as much power behind those as we can. So I'm going to get 2 state car trains. Once again, these are slow because we don't have, I've gone a bit too far there, haven't I? Because we don't have the custom state cars. So we'll get 2 of those running. I'm going to get 2 running just tank cars. And then if we have a look at some of our existing trains, what we can potentially do is shift some of our state cars and tank cars off some of these existing ones and convert those into exclusively boxcar trains. We might do that to 3 of them for the moment. Good thing as well is we can also just upgrade all of the cars on these, which is fine. We're okay with doing that. We'll maintain our Atlantics running, but we'll get some new box cars running, which should hopefully lift up our speed limits a little bit. I actually don't know if they will. We could definitely get some refrigerated cars. In fact, I might actually switch one of these over to be a refrigerated car. I don't think we're going to get a full length out of this because these are quite heavy. In fact, we're not getting anywhere near a full length out of that. So I might just use box cars right now. I have a feeling we're probably going to unlock some new box cars fairly soon anyway. So we will just stick with box cars then right now. And we'll do the same for these other 2 as well. So this is a little bit of a rethink, I guess, of what we're doing here. And hopefully it's going to work out okay. Hopefully. I also want to increase the throughput on the Santa Rosa to LA crude oil line. We're going to do that by just upgrading all the trains running on it because these are quite old. 127 years old. I didn't realize they were that old. But yeah, certainly we can get those upgraded and fixed up. No, I'm tempted. It's probably a bit low, isn't it, in terms of tractive effort and stuff. Yeah, no, we'll keep Pacifics on these for the moment. So I reckon making these changes is going to like at least triple our throughput here. This is like massive now. We should be able to quite easily cover what's coming out of our oil well. It might even level up as well, and that's also going to increase our throughput through to our fuel refinery. In terms of the fuel refinery, I do want to just double track this whole thing. So I have already upgraded, I should say, the trains to some new ones, same as what we've just put on the crude oil line. And it probably makes sense for us to just get the entire line double tracked. That's going to increase the amount of trains we're actually running through here. And we might even be able to add an extra train on as well. This is a bit kinky, so I'm going to quickly pause and just rethink this a little bit. Not entirely sure why we can't connect all platforms here, actually. Because we're probably coming from this one, isn't it? Yes, we are. Okay, so we can connect some of them. All right, so we can potentially add another one on, but we'll leave it for the moment with how we've set it up. I did as well mention last episode that I wasn't happy with the setup of this schmozzle around Laredo. So I am going to upgrade and fix that. We'll just allow this guy to go through. And once they are at the station, we'll whack a pause on. And we're going to do a fair bit of deleting here. So first of all, we want to make these tracks make a little bit more sense, because at the moment they are, well, not making sense, let's be honest. We need to double track this, which it is obviously, as you can see, not double tracked right now. We do want overheads for this section. Let's see if we can just bend this all the way around. We can, and it's not terrible. It does get down to around 40 or so, but I think that's probably acceptable. And this one is probably going to go a little bit lower as well, isn't it? Yeah, still not the most ideal, but yeah. Acceptable, I guess. And we want to allow crossing movements between these two as well. Question is, how are we going to best do that? Well, just doing something like that, right? This is definitely not the best connection you could make. And we probably also want to do this. This one's a little bit better. It's not quite as terrible. I feel like that should cover everything. What? Why not? Oh, because we need crissy-crossy stuff, don't we? Yep. That should fix that. That should fix some of that. Hang on. No, we might rethink rather than using double slips, because we need something a bit more. Okay, so we can put a crossover here. That one's okay. That's a fairly easy one, assuming it'll fit. Ooh, might not. I need to push some of these back, actually, now that I think of it. May as well branch off like nice and early, to be honest. We'll do that instead. Oh, that's actually branching off a little bit too early. It's too gradual a whatever you call it, getting off bit. What? That should be okay. Yep, that's okay. We want to see maybe if we can draw it out a little bit further, sort of around here or so. It's saying too much curvature. I think it will be okay. That might be too much curvature, actually. Oh no, that is fine. All right, now we've got to do our crossovers. Well, that's that crossover done, actually. That one's fine. And then, can we just do that? We can. And where is that clipping on? Right there. And then we should be able to just do some standard, like scissor, whatevers. Ooh. Oh, yes, we can just fit that in there. Nice. Okay, okay. All right, everybody's happy now. Can we fit signals in that tiny gap there? I'm hoping we can. All right, that's quite messy, but I think it's okay. I think it works, and that's probably the most important thing. I do want to actually punch this this set of tracks through as well, in case we do want to run some further through services. Now, definitely not all of this needs to be with overheads. I don't know if I'll bother removing the ones that probably didn't need to be there, though. This should make this traffic on this sort of stretch here flow through a lot quicker. We shouldn't have as many backups waiting to go in here. All right, so our LA to Laredo freight line, we are going to retire this line. And instead of having trains running back and forth between these main hubs, we're just going to have trains starting. We'll probably have these ones start at LA, and we're going to have an individual train running to Santa Rosa and an individual one also going to Peoria. And we're going to see how that goes. So this is going to be our first sort of trial on this network. Then we're going to stop stuff like the trains, like just ferrying goods between the two hubs, which was getting a little bit silly. So we will first off get these two trains here just sold off. They're not any good to us anymore. And then we will start to convert these over. So I might see if we can run 2 to each town, but we'll see if that's required or not, and we can potentially shift them on to other towns on the network if that's not required. So I'm going to get a new line established. It's going to run from LA to Santa Rosa sidings, and this is going to be called the SR freight shuttle. And what I am going to do, we're going to switch one of these trains onto it. And then we're going to also get a new train created as well. So Santa Rosa, it does need a lot of fuel. Actually, probably not as many or as much fuel as we're actually running here. If we have a look, 255, and it needs like 141. So we can probably do fuel and potentially some stake cars maybe. And then on the other one, we can do box cars and some stake cars just to make sure we do have a bit of redundancy built in. So we will get this fixed up. We'll pull off, yeah, maybe these. So these aren't going to be full 240 meter long trains, and we're okay with that. The issue, of course, is that we're still using these slow stay cars. So in fact, they are pretty much going to be 240 meters long anyway. So it's okay. Modify that one, get that one moving. In fact, what I might do, we can do something slightly different here. I might pull a few more off. We'll also get some box cars on this as well. Now, why I'm doing this is because Santa Rosa only needs 6 goods and a lot of food. So we can actually run some reefers on this line, and they're going to be fast trains as well. So we're sort of concentrating all our slow freight cars on just that one train, and we can run our second one just with the refrigerated vans. And see, these are obviously much faster. We'll probably go up to 200. I don't think we need to go to 240. And that should, yeah, be a lot quicker as well. We've already got some goods wanting to move over, or some fuel really wanting to move over to the SR freight shuttle. Secondly, let's get the Laredo freight line. Let's manage this line, or the LA to Laredo freight line, I should say. We're actually going to just scrap everything except stopping at Peoria. So there's obviously a drastic change. What do we need in Peoria? It's quite similar to what we're looking at in Santa Rosa. So we will have one of these trains that's got tank cars and a few state cars and a few box cars, and the other one is going to run reefers. We'll rename this to Peoria Freight Shuttle. And let's get these modified. Might actually get a couple more. Yep. That should be all we need. Can't fit any more on anyway, so that's okay. And this guy will pull all the tank cars off and put a nice rack of reefers on there. And 202 will go with that one. Perfect. Okay, so that should, hopefully, we'll start to see some more goods flowing to those towns. As you can see, we're starting to see a bit of demand to shift some goods via these new shuttle services. Not massive right now, but what we should see, or what we should expect to see, is that more goods is going to want to use our trip train service and less are going to want to use the shuttles. Obviously, we've only rolled that out to these 2 towns. But from here, what I want to do is roll out a similar sort of setup to San Francisco and also Flint. Now, we've set up in San Francisco this sort of similar service where we've got a freight platform here. I'm actually going to remove those because we've got a perfectly fine freight platform over here that we can use and ship the goods into town via our truck service. And I've considered, and I think we will use Laredo as the sort of home base of our shuttle services, at least through to these 2 towns here. We might continue using EP2s, so we will get 2 set up here, one to go to San Francisco and one to Flint. For San Francisco, we only need box cars and state cars because our fuel is going to be handled from the fuel refinery itself. Unfortunately, that means that these are going to be slow. We could... I was going to say we could consider using just these Alco shunters, but we're not going to do that. That's silly. We're going to stick to our strategy of using electrified freight where we have wires available. And we will probably do half and half. Probably makes sense. It probably doesn't make sense because that's going to be quite a small amount. As we might just get maybe like 5. Cool. And we will get a new line established to run that. Once again, this is going to run from our Laredo hub to San Francisco. We're going to do the same here at Flint. This one will be a sort of half and half setup. Got no issues with doing that. Those are not the box cars we want though. Get a new line set up for that. Can't connect all stations apparently. Probably because we need to be able to do a turnaround here. No, we've got a turnaround actually. Okay. So why? Oh, is it connecting to the passenger part potentially? Okay, it was. Cool. That is resolved. And our construction materials train, we are going to remove the stops in Flint and San Francisco. And it will instead go to Laredo to drop off its construction materials there. Try again. Cool. Now, last episode, obviously, we built our Peoria bypass track to avoid using the big banked incline. I didn't have the opportunity to actually get a ride in on it. So we're going to hop aboard our LA to Laredo Stone train. We'll be an abridged one because obviously this is a fairly short train, but we'll definitely see the full length of our new bypass and hope you enjoy. And here we are arriving at Laredo North. So yeah, that bypass makes a hell of a lot of difference. We've still got a fair bit of slowdown on that sort of section of track between our chemical plant at LA or Las Vegas, whatever it is, and our steel mill at Santa Rosa. So we need to look at that next episode. I have some ideas of what we could do to potentially make that a little bit better. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. So now that we've started making those changes to our network, obviously just within the LA, Santa Rosa, Peoria sort of little stretch, we are immediately starting to see some benefits in those towns. So yeah, this was a big fail on my behalf. But I mean, for me, it's okay. I experiment with these things because I think it's fun. Obviously, this didn't work out the way I thought it would. Bit because of game mechanics and bit because it was probably just a crappy idea to start with, but we're going to use some of those ideas. We're still going to have those big long freight trains running between our main hubs, but we are not going to be running trains back and forth between them anymore. Obviously, we've only just started to make that transition, so next episode we will continue working on that. With that in mind, I hope you've enjoyed this episode though. If you have, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you get a ding to your device the next time I post a video. You can find links to all my social media in the description, so please jump on there, like, follow, subscribe, do all that wonderful stuff. A big shout out to my Founders Club patrons, Caleb and Isaiah. Thank you so much for helping to make this content possible. But until next time, I'm Bob Dendry. This is Transport Fever 2, The Long Game. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.